Hello everyone and welcome back to East Market, your weekly look at the amarr market. For a change, we're sitting outside the station. I'm cloaked up somewhere around the station and put the camera at the undock. Just to make a little bit of a change again, always you see the inside of the station and I thought, yeah, let's do one outside again. Maybe you have some tips to do it on different places along with sitting in amarr. It will be fine to do some different places to do on camera. Just to do a little bit of a change. Last week I was a little bit doubtful if I'm gonna keep on continuing this series and ask you guys to answer in the commentary down below. There were really not really any responses on it. There was at least one person that responded. Let me get a look at this and I'll probably hear some audio in a few. No, we don't, because I'm in time. At least David responded. Thank you for your reaction in the comments from the last week video of the amarr market. At least he is keeping using my videos to keep track of the mineral prices. I do have a thought about this week. I'm making these videos also handy for myself because I'm doing my own market and production a lot, so I can keep track for myself the prices also with what the prices I'm doing. I can make a decision about that when I'm gonna buy minerals in or not. So it's also helping myself really. So yeah, well, let's start looking at the market. Of course, that's what we're here for. Unless you have something else for here for, then you're probably on the wrong video, but you shouldn't be. Alright, let's get my sheet up from last week. I didn't update the salvage prices last week. I forgot to update. I did show you guys very quickly, but I didn't update the prices for that. Alright, titanium seems to have a very slight uptrend still on the price. Very slowly crawling up. Seems to have a little bit bad data point here. And we're about an hour in the Sunday. At least on Eve time. For my own, it's like 2 hours in the Sunday already. So it's 2 o'clock when I'm in the night when I record this. So it seems to be still going slightly up. No data available from yesterday. No data for today. It looks like very slow. It's still crawling up. Doesn't seem to stop soon. But it's going with very small steps. It's 620 for the seller's price for titanium, and for the buyers it's sitting pretty close together. Very close even. 617 for the buyer's price. Last week's 5.94, so it went up in price for the buyer's price for titanium. Then the next one is ferrite. This is not really a huge use sitting outside the station where you cannot really see anything what's happening. And ferrite is very strongly going up in price. It's sitting just below the 12.5 ISK per unit. That's a pretty high price for ferrite. And even today price we're sitting is already giving on a 13. But then again, we're 1 hour in the Sunday, so yesterday's price is not even available. So we're sitting just below the 12.50 for the ferrite price, and it's a pretty high price. And wow, the amount of sellers in amarr is low. This is a very low amount of sellers in amarr for ferrite. On the buyers we have more than enough, but sellers we're very short on. 13.70 for the seller's price, and for the buyer's price we're sitting even above the 12.5, 12.56. It went up in 1 week time with more than 1 ISK per unit, and that's a very big increase for ferrite. 11.37 was last week's price. So it's a very big increase for ferrite in the price. Then we have Maxilon. Also Maxilon seems to be definitely rising in price. In the beginning of this week it was also rising in price, just sitting below the 64 ISK unit. Then it dropped suddenly again in price pretty hard in between one day and the other day. After that it seems to be crawling back up again. So it's about the 61. So also Maxilon is increasing in price still. Seller's price is sitting just above the 62 ISK, really just above. And for the buyer's price 95.15. Also this has a pretty big increase since last week in price. 56.25 was last week's price. So definitely very clearly a big increase also here on Maxilon. And this will definitely start making all the prices going up soon. All the ships and modules. I would have seen some stuff going up. Modules. And some ammunition. So Maxilon is definitely also gonna keep on going on this trend. Hydrogen, not really a big different story than the other minerals, going up in price, sitting below the 120 per unit. The Friday was sitting even at the 120 per unit. Yesterday no data available, today was even a little bit above it. But also very clearly hydrogen is going up in price. Very clearly, and it's going up for almost a month now. Also this one is not gonna stop soon. Seller's price 125.79. And then for the buyer's price 119.75. Not a huge increase, not like Maxilon and Maxilon have much bigger gap going up in price. Iceland is not too big, 116.15 was last week's price, so it is going up, but it's not going that rapidly up as Maxilon and ferrite. Ferrite is maybe only one ISK increase, but it's such a common mineral, and definitely for 1 week is a big increase. Then we have Noxium. Noxium is also still increasing in price. It did a little bit of a dip here, and then it just was fuck this dip, I'm gonna go back up again, sitting around the 600. Again the Noxium, and it has now and then a small dip, but seems to be mainly going up in price. And also this one doesn't seem to stop soon. Seller price is very low one, is not even a lot of minerals, but it is the lowest. 589.49 for the seller's price. And then for the buyer's price 585.01. Also this one is definitely a decent increase in its price since last week. 561.29 was last week's price. So it is a decent increase in price. Also for Noxium. Then going towards more for the minerals out of nullsec. And this is cyanide that was last week going a little bit, was still a little bit high on price. Let's see, Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. No, it's been pretty much the same this week. It went just the day after I recorded the video last week, the Sunday on Monday, it dropped in price because there were a decent amount of sales suddenly in one day, almost twice as much as normal. And then the other days the price seems to have recovered a bit, just below, above the 450. It looks around about 460, 470 between there. And then yesterday it even dropped again in price, almost same drop as a week ago, but no changes on sales really. Then the price for Zyndred, 11 units, it's nothing. 450 for 11 units, that's not. I think this one is a little bit decent amount. The third one, 457.97 for the seller's price. For the buyer's price, 424.54. The first mineral of this week's market that is gone down in price. Yes, it's the first one that went down. Last week's price of signing was 433.06. So it's the first one this week that has gone down in price. And the thing still is gonna stay pretty much around the same price. Maybe there's now then a dip or a small spike. But on overall, I'm sure it's gonna stay around pretty much around the same price. Then we have Megasite. It had its uptrends, but it seems to be this week starting to drop in price again. It's not a huge amount, but it has been going down. The average per day has definitely been lower than where even a 5-day average has been sitting. So the average price sales for this. Oh wait, no, that's the 20-day. You can see how late it is already for me. Not. So the 5-day is definitely making a drop again. Slightly going up again for the last 4 or 5 days. But not really a huge amount. Then the prices for the seller's price, we're sitting at 862.94, and for the buyer's price, we're sitting at 805. I'm not gonna bother to change my order. Yeah, I know it's 500,000 units. I really run out again. So 805 now for the buyer's price. Last week's price was 753.61. So Megasite also this week has been increasing in price. Yeah, what it's gonna do next week, I don't know. It can go to both ways. It can go up, it can go down. It just depends on what's gonna put on the market this week, and what's gonna get bought off the market. So I really have no idea where Megasite will go. And see, and I just said, it's not even about a minute ago, I said it was 805, and that's on the other one already is bidding 5 is higher, 810 already. These two are really competing with each other for why the hell you gonna put 5 is more per unit when you only need 96 units. If you're lucky, you put it 1 is low higher than this 805 and get this 96 units in. If I only had to buy 96 units, I wouldn't even bother to change my order. I wouldn't. So now price 810. It's only 69 units, but it's pushed up. Alright, then the last mineral, Morphite, is on the drop. Starting to drop in price. It was last week dropping. This week it seems to be stabilizing a little bit between 5,800 and 5,900, sitting between those prices, with one exception for one day that's sitting around 5,250. That was a huge drop here in one day. But on average, it's sitting between 5,800 and 5,900. For the seller's price, 5,845, just above it. For the buyer's price, all these small orders again, 5,844. This is 10 units. If this one gets fulfilled, we're going to drop in quickly to the 5,610. Since this one is more reasonable amount, then these 10 units are going to write this one down. The 516. In that case, if I'm gonna keep track on the 516, the price dropped since last week. If we take the 5,844, then the price went up since last week. Since those 10 units go for the 5,610, so the price has dropped since last week. Last week's price was 5,628. So a small drop, so it's not a huge amount. It's sitting pretty much around the same price for Morphite. Then we're gonna have a look at the salvage. Didn't really have a close look last week. Last week's it was sitting, looks like, on a very high price. And someone just died here. And what did he lose? He lost a Cardell destroyer. That's not really a big loss for you. So, armor plates was very high last week. Then it dropped suddenly a huge amount, but slowly crawling up this week again. And sitting around the 110,000 per unit with pretty big amount of sales here on Saturday. Around 50 to 60,000 units on this day. It's higher than normal. Then the seller's price 113,996. This is one above 500. And then the buyer's price 111,000.00112. And the price I have on my sheet is 2 weeks ago, because I did not update it last week. So 2 weeks ago the price was 106.015.59. So it's a small increase in the prices, but it's not really too big. But logic circuits, not quite stable this week. It has been going up and down. When it went up, it's sitting around 3 to 4 days around the same price. Then again it dropped and sitting around 3 to 4 days around the same price. And then for the Saturday it went up again, and maybe stay around the 3 to 4 days around that price. Or it's gonna go down or up. Now sales are pretty normal. No weird things about that, so it's just people buying off market, people getting it from the buyers. So seller's price 35,500 for the sellers, and for the buyers 32.5, and another half isk. Last week's price was, of last week's, 2 weeks ago, was 1,000 lower, 31,500. So went up exactly with, yeah, it was almost exactly 1,000 isk up in this 2 weeks time, so about 500 per week. Little bit an increase, don't think it's gonna increase too much. Then fried interface circuits. You only saw a small glimpse on the market as it was something, not a huge amount of demand. Fried interface circuits are going up in price. Not very quickly yet, but you see what we just saw here. Not a huge amount of sellers on the market. So we see already a high data point for today here that is may drop a little bit more, but I don't expect it to gonna drop a huge amount. So fried interface circuits definitely gonna go up in price this week, unless there's suddenly a huge supply getting dropped on the market, then it probably is gonna drop again. So the amount of sellers, not a huge amount, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah, about 9 to 10 sellers only in amarr. There are not a 15 outside amarr, but also that is pretty low. So seller's price 3,321, and if that one gets done, it's sitting already at 4,400. Seller's price gonna go up very quick. Then the buyer's price also pretty decent amount for the buyers, 3,321.33. Surprisingly, it didn't went up too much since 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago it was flat 3,000. So seeing the shortage on the market for this, you're probably gonna see next week a much higher price for this. Then we have melted capacitor consoles. Have been pretty much sitting flat at the same price this week, flat at the 4,000. So not really a huge amount to say about that, except that it's very stable. After a while ago it was very unstable. It went up and down like a madman. It could be easy 500 to 500 price difference per day, and now suddenly there's hardly any change per day. So melted capacitor consoles very stable currently on the market. Prices more than 500 units, just below the 5,000 per unit, and for the buyers just above the 4,000 units. Last week's price 4,203.83. Now I'm putting that away. Return. So it's a drop in price, about 200 drop since last week. A pretty normal change for it. Trip power circuits has a very unstable week this week. It was sitting around 40,000 before. Then 2 days later, suddenly we sent 2 days at the same price. And there are more people losing ships. Oh, what the hell is happening? Someone is shooting. Wait a minute. Was that Concorde? I'm moving my camera so I cannot see now. It looks like Concorde was shooting a hauler. Alright. Back to the market. So it dropped suddenly for 2 days at the same price, then it dropped again to 36,000. Then it dropped again for about 800 again. And then yesterday it went up again to up just above the 36,000 per unit. So, and for today we're sitting higher again. Very unstable, doesn't know what to do. Amount of sales are normal, so it's just depending on where stuff gets sold from the sellers or buyers getting fulfilled on the buyers. Prices 40,989 for the seller's price, that's more than 500 units. And then for the buyer's price 37,002.48. Seller's price. Buyer's price went down since 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago 39,014.77. That was the price 2 weeks ago, so that's about a drop of 2,000 per unit. Then we're gonna take a look at the ships, and is this guy coming out again? It is him, I think. It's the Proteus that keeps coming out again and getting shot. Oh crap, that was the camera. Let's not try to get the camera back. It's not that easy because I'm sitting pretty far off the station. About 108. He keeps trying, but he doesn't get away. So, the Bowhead blueprint. Still getting sold for around 1.8 billion ISK per BPO. For the buys around 1.6 billion ISK. Costs 1.550 in outer ring still. So the sales are pretty normal. He's coming out again. Oh no, yeah, there he goes again. So prices haven't changed really. I don't keep track really about it. I should do that. Let me fill in this on my sheet. Poundhead BPU. I don't know if I put anything in. I just gonna round it up to 1.8 billion is. And then we have of course the normal Powerhead. No, without the BPO, and then the confessor. So let's keep track of these prices. I am filling in an seller's price. So we're going to keep track of this and not the buyer's price. Yeah, Bauheads itself. And there's indeed the first one is on the market here in amarr for 3.5 billion ISK. I have no idea what really is the build price for the Bauhead. I have no idea. Even the buyers are sitting at 2.3 billion ISK. They really wanted this ship very badly. I don't know if there have anyone been sold. There already has been Bauhead sold this week. Let's look at the table, the bill here. Yes. It doesn't show really if it has been sold here. Yeah, yes, it's been sold. The 17 there was one sold in this day for 4 billion ISK. Then the 18 there's one has been sold for 3.5 billion ISK, so he already paid 500 million too much. Then the 19 there was not a single one sold. And then yesterday there were 8 Bauheads sold with the lowest price of 3 billion ISK and the highest price of 3.5 billion ISK. For today there's already one sold for 3.5 billion ISK. So that's about this price. Here's only one left on the market. So the first Bauhead has been sold already this week. The first one was this is the Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday on Wednesday. It's about 1.5 week almost. Almost a week after it. And that the first the BPOs came on the market. And the Bauheads are now on the market and coming slowly out of production and getting dropped on the market. So 3.5 billion is for the Bauhead. So if you want one, dive deep in your pockets. Take a look at the Confessor. Let's go to this one, to the graph. Confessor, as expected, is of course dropping in price because it's a new ship that's getting sold a lot. There are pretty a lot sold here per day, around 80 to 100 being sold per day. Because everybody wants to try this fancy ship. I don't blame them. I like to get one too, but I just don't have time to train the skills for this thing. I can get one easily. I need only amarr Destroyer 5. I probably don't have it that high yet. Even 8 days. Yeah, I have other plans. So Confessor clearly dropping price. Drop below the 200 million now per ship. For the seller's price 165 million ISK. For the buyer's price 145 million ISK. Let's keep an eye on this price. Definitely also I'm gonna keep on this one, the buyer's price, because that's more. This one is gonna drop pretty quickly. They're expecting what I've read to drop about to 60-70 million ISK. That should be around a normal price for the Confessor. But yeah, everybody wants the fancy ship quickly. So yeah, they're giving a lot of money. So this was this week looks at the amarr market. Hope you enjoyed the video. Well, you didn't see too much from the dock. Of course, the new fancy ships. Maybe next week I'll angle my camera a little bit different. If we're gonna sit at the station, or maybe we're gonna sit at the gate, I don't know yet. Or maybe back in the station. So, we'll see you all next week again. And, oh, before I forget, it's gonna be Christmas before I see you guys next week again. So, for all of you, happy holidays, don't drink too much. And don't drink if you need to drive, of course. Is it don't safe, but you can fly ships in Eve. They won't notice here. Concorde won't notice that you have been drinking and flying a ship. I'm sure they won't. At least I hope for you. So everybody, happy holidays, and we'll see you all next week again. Fly safe.